On July 8, 2014, at Varna Airport in Bulgaria, German tourist Lars Mittank left his suitcase behind, ran out of the terminal, climbed over a fence, and disappeared into a nearby wooded area. He has not been seen since. Lars had been in Bulgaria on holiday with 4 friends. They were staying at Golden Sands, a resort on the Black Sea coast, popular with young German tourists. It was known as an affordable party destination, with beaches, clubs, and all-inclusive hotels. The group stayed at the Hotel Viva Club. For most of the trip, nothing appeared to be wrong. They spent time at the beach, played football, drank together, and went out at night. The holiday seemed ordinary until the final part of the week. A few days before Lars was due to fly back to Germany, he became involved in a fight near the hotel, reportedly at a 24-hour McDonald's. The incident was brief. Lars supported Werder Bremen, while the German tourists he encountered were said to be Bayern Munich fans. The two clubs were rivals, and the argument escalated. Lars was then punched in the head. The blow ruptured his eardrum. His friends were concerned and advised him to go to hospital. Lars did so. He was prescribed cefuroxime 500, an antibiotic intended to prevent infection. There was also the option of a minor procedure to repair the eardrum, but Lars did not have it done in Bulgaria. It is possible he wanted to wait until he returned home. The injury also affected his travel plans. Lars had been warned that pressure changes during a flight could make the condition worse. Because of that, he told his friends he would not fly home with them as planned. He said he would stay behind for a day or two, rest, and then follow them back to Germany. His friends were uneasy about leaving him, but Lars told them he was fine and was only being cautious. They went to the airport without him. It was the last time they saw him. Now alone, Lars looked for somewhere cheap to stay. The area was busy, and available rooms were limited, but he eventually booked into the Hotel Color, a budget hotel close to Varna Airport. For his situation, it made sense. It was inexpensive and near the place he expected to fly from. But later that night, Lars's behavior became unusual. He called his mother from the hotel and sounded frightened. He told her he was being followed and needed somewhere to hide. He said people were trying to rob or kill him. He then asked her to freeze his credit card, which she did. After that, he sent her a message asking about cefuroxime 500, the same antibiotic he had been given for his ear injury. Security footage from the Hotel Color showed Lars behaving restlessly. He was seen moving around the foyer, pacing, and hiding in an elevator. At one point, he left the hotel in the middle of the night and was gone for about an hour before returning to his room. At dawn, Lars called his mother again. He said the people following him were getting closer and that he was afraid. Not long after, he left the hotel and took a taxi to Varna Airport. During the journey, he continued texting his mother. His phone battery was running low, and she remained worried about his condition. She advised him to see the airport doctor before attempting to fly. Lars followed that advice. The doctor on duty was Dr. Kosta Kostov. When Lars arrived, the doctor noticed that he seemed nervous and uneasy. He examined him and found that Lars was medically fit to fly. The consultation was then interrupted by a construction worker. The airport terminal was being renovated at the time, so workers moving through offices and private areas was not unusual. But the interruption appeared to alarm Lars. According to the doctor, Lars said he did not want to die there. He then stood up, left his belongings behind, and ran from the room. Airport CCTV captured what happened next. Lars ran through the terminal and out through the main doors. He crossed the car park, climbed over a fence topped with barbed wire, and continued toward a wooded area beyond the airport grounds. After that, He was no longer visible on camera. He has never been found. Police searched the area around the airport, including with dogs, but discovered no trace of him. Appeals were made, and the case drew attention internationally. Many people searched for Lars in the days, weeks, and months that followed, but nothing led to his confirmed location. His luggage was left behind, including the unopened Cephurosime 500 tablets. The airport footage became the main record of his final confirmed movements. It has been viewed and studied by many people, but it is not explained what happened after he entered the wooded area. Several theories have been suggested. Some believe Lars may have been killed or abducted after leaving the airport. Others believe he may have been experiencing extreme paranoia, possibly caused by the head injury, stress, lack of sleep, medication concerns, or another unknown factor. If that is what happened, Lars may have fled because he believed he was in danger, even if no threat was actually there. One possibility is that he died from exposure after leaving the airport, and his remains have not yet been found. Another is that he survived for some time while living rough or hiding. Over the years, there have been reported sightings, including some that initially appeared promising, but none have been confirmed as Lars Mittank. April 1st, 2006, in Columbus, Ohio, 27-year-old medical student Brian Shaffer was seen near the entrance of a bar called the Ugly Tuna Saloon. The bar was located in the South Campus Gateway complex, close to Ohio State University. Security cameras captured him there shortly before 2 o'clock in the morning. After that, he was never seen again. Brian was a second-year medical student at Ohio State University. He was described as tall, about 6 feet 2 inches, with brown hair and hazel eyes. He also had a Pearl Jam tattoo on his upper right arm and a distinctive mark on the iris of his left eye. At the time, Brian had been under pressure. He was studying medicine, preparing for exams, and still dealing with the recent death of his mother. But he also had plans ahead of him. He and his girlfriend, Alexis Wagoner, were expected to travel to Miami for spring break. Before that trip, Brian went out with friends. On the evening of March 31st, 2006, Brian had dinner with his father, Randy. It was a steak dinner, and according to later accounts, Randy thought his son looked tired. Brian had been studying heavily, and Randy was concerned that he was worn down. But Brian still planned to go out that night. Later that evening, he met his friend William Clint Florence at the Ugly Tuna Saloon. The bar was on the second floor of the Gateway complex, and it was a popular spot for students. It was the beginning of spring break, and the area was busy. Brian and Clint did not remain at one place the entire night. They visited other bars around Columbus and had drinks as they moved from place to place. After midnight, they met another friend, Meredith Reed. She later drove them back to the Ugly Tuna Saloon, where the night had started. The three entered the building and went up toward the bar. Security footage showed Brian, Clint, and Meredith going up the escalator to the bar area at around 1:15 in the morning. At some point inside, Brian became separated from the others. Near closing time, he was seen again on security footage near the entrance to the bar. He appeared to be speaking briefly with 2 women outside the entrance area. This was around 1:55 in the morning. Then he moved out of the camera's view. That was the final confirmed sighting. When the bar closed at 2 a.m., Clint and Meredith tried to find him. They called his phone several times and waited outside with the crowd leaving the bar. Brian did not appear. They eventually assumed he had left without telling them and had gone home, but he had not returned to his apartment. Over the weekend, Brian's girlfriend and family tried to contact him. He did not answer. Then, on Monday morning, he missed the flight to Miami that he and Alexis had planned to take together. At that point, his disappearance could no longer be treated as a misunderstanding. Brian was reported missing. Police began by looking at the bar and the building where he had last been seen. The case quickly became difficult because of the security footage. Cameras appeared to show Brian entering the bar area, and they showed him near the entrance shortly before closing, but they did not clearly show him leaving. Investigators reviewed footage from the Ugly Tuna Saloona and surrounding businesses. They checked cameras from nearby bars as well. None of them showed Brian walking away from the area. This became the central problem in the case. A man had been seen near the entrance of a bar just before closing, but there was no confirmed image of him leaving the building afterward. There were possible explanations. Police say it is possible that because Brian had been drinking heavily that night, he may have been vulnerable to foul play. If Brian tried to walk back to his apartment, which was about half a dozen blocks away, he could have been an easy target. Police also said there was a significant amount of crime in that neighborhood. There was also a service exit near the area where Brian had last been seen. That route was not generally used by the public. It led toward a first-floor hallway and an area connected to construction work. Some investigators believed it would have been difficult for someone unfamiliar with the building to use that route, especially after drinking. But it could not be ruled out entirely. Searches were carried out around the bar and the surrounding area. Police checked streets, dumpsters, and nearby spaces. Dogs were used. The sewer system was also searched. Nothing useful was found. Brian's apartment was checked as well. It was located only a short distance from the bar. His car was still there, and there was no obvious sign that he had returned home and left again. There were no confirmed sightings of him after the bar. As the investigation continued, police interviewed people who had been with Brian that night. His father and Meredith Reed were among those who took polygraph tests and passed. Clint Florence later stopped cooperating with investigators on legal advice and declined a polygraph test. That decision has remained a point of interest for many people following the case, but it has not produced an answer. The two women Brian was last seen speaking with were later identified. There was no confirmed evidence that they were involved in his disappearance. Investigators considered several possibilities, but searches in the surrounding area did not find him. For a time, there was a small sign of hope. Months after Brian vanished, his girlfriend continued calling his phone. Usually, the calls went straight to voicemail. But one night in September 2006, the phone rang. It was later suggested that this may have been a technical glitch, although reports also stated that a signal had been detected near a cell tower in Hilliard, northwest of Columbus. The lead did not locate Brian. Like many parts of the case, it raised hope for a moment, then left the family without an answer. 2 years later, the case became even more painful for Brian's family. His father, Randy Shaffer, had continued searching for him and remained active in efforts connected to missing adult cases in Ohio. But in September 2008, during a heavy windstorm, Randy was clearing debris outside his home when a branch from a tree struck him. He died before ever learning what had happened to his son. After his obituary was posted online, a message appeared in the condolence book. It claimed to be from Brian and included the words, "To Dad, love Brian," with a location listed as the U.S. Virgin Islands. For a brief time, it raised the possibility that Brian might still be alive. But investigators later traced the message to a public computer in Franklin County, Ohio. It was determined to be a hoax. By then, the Shaffer family had not only lost Brian, they had also lost the one person who kept searching for him the hardest. Emma Filipoff was 26 years old when she disappeared from Victoria, British Columbia. She was originally from Perth, Ontario, but had moved to Victoria in 2011. For a time, she worked at Redfish Bluefish, a seafood restaurant in the city's inner harbor. The work was seasonal, and by the end of October 2012, Emma had stopped working there. She told people she planned to return in the spring, but in the weeks before she vanished, Emma's life had become unstable. She had been staying at Sandy Merriman House, a women's shelter in Victoria. Her mother, Shelley, was still in Ontario and did not know that Emma was staying there. They had been speaking by phone, but Shelley did not fully know where her daughter was living or how difficult things had become. In the days before November 28th, Emma called her mother and asked if she could come home and stay with her. Shelley became worried and decided to travel to Victoria. 1 week before Emma disappeared, on November 21st, she hired a tow truck to move her red 1993 Mazda MPV from Souk to the parking garage at the Chateau Victoria. When police later found the van, it was still there. Inside were many of Emma's personal belongings, including her passport, laptop, digital camera, clothes, journals, and recently borrowed library books. The van suggested something important. If Emma had left Victoria, she had not done so in a planned or ordinary way. Emma was seen in downtown Victoria. There were reports that she appeared troubled before her final contact with police. At one point, she was seen at the Victoria YMCA. Security footage reportedly showed her entering, leaving, and entering again, as though she was unsure whether to stay inside or go back out. Later that evening, Emma was seen near the Empress Hotel on Government Street. She was barefoot. An acquaintance, Dennis Quay, saw her outside the hotel and became concerned enough to call 911. He reported that a woman appeared to be in severe distress. Police arrived and spoke with Emma. The officers stayed with her for around 45 minutes. They took her name and assessed her condition. Emma had no outstanding warrants. She was not considered a danger to herself or to anyone else. Because of that, police did not have grounds to hold her, so they let her go. That was the final confirmed contact with Emma Filipoff. A few hours later, Shelley arrived in Victoria. She went to Sandy Merriman House, hoping to find her daughter there. Emma was not there. By midnight, Emma had been reported missing. Police began searching for her. The focus turned to the area around the Empress Hotel in downtown Victoria. Emma had last been seen in a busy part of the city, near hotels, traffic, businesses, and pedestrians. But there was no confirmed sighting showing where she went after police left her. That became the central problem in the case. Emma had been seen in public. She had spoken with the police. Her mother had arrived only hours later, and most of the belongings she would likely need were still inside the van. But Emma herself was gone. Investigators followed leads over the years. Some came from possible sightings. Others came from people who believed they had seen Emma after she vanished. There was also a lead involving her credit card. Emma's credit card was reportedly found near the Juan de Fuca Community Center, away from where she had last been seen. It was later used by someone else to buy cigarettes. Police traced that activity, but it did not lead them to Emma. Another possible lead came years later. A witness reported that he may have seen Emma on the morning after she disappeared. According to that account, a woman matching Emma's description was seen in the Victoria area on November 29, 2012. The report brought renewed attention to the case, but it did not confirm what happened to her. Several possibilities have been considered. Emma may have suffered harm after walking away from the Empress Hotel. She may have left the area on foot and met someone unknown. She may have tried to travel without her belongings. She may have been in a state of distress that led her somewhere no one expected. Police and Emma's family continued to appeal for information. In later years, investigators released more images of Emma and some of her artwork, hoping someone might recognize her or remember a detail they had missed. An age progression image was also released on the 10th anniversary of her disappearance. Her mother has continued searching for her and speaking publicly about the case. More than a decade later, the appeals have not stopped. As of today, Emma Filipoff remains missing. Andrew Gosden was 14 years old when he left his home in Balby, Doncaster, dressed for school on September 14, 2007. Instead of taking his usual bus, he went to a nearby park and waited there until his family had left the house. A family friend later recalled seeing him sitting alone on a bench in Westfield Park at around 8:20 in the morning. After that, once his parents had left for work, Andrew returned home. Once inside, he changed out of his school uniform and put on casual clothes. He wore a black slip-knot t-shirt, black jeans, and Vans trainers. He also took a messenger bag with patches related to some of his favorite bands. He took his bank card, his keys, and his PlayStation Portable, but he left other things behind. He did not take the charger for his PSP. He did not take his passport. He did not take spare clothes. He left his school uniform at home. Then, Andrew left the house again. CCTV from Littlemore captured him walking alone in the direction of Doncaster railway station. At 9:08 in the morning, Andrew stopped at a cash machine and withdrew £200. This nearly emptied his bank account. He then continued to Doncaster railway station. At 9:22, Andrew bought a ticket to London. The ticket seller later remembered him because she offered him a return ticket for less than £1 more. Andrew refused it. Instead, he bought a one-way ticket. At 9:36, he boarded a train to London King's Cross. Another passenger later recalled seeing him on the train. He was alone and spent the journey playing on his PSP. Back in Doncaster, Andrew's absence from school should have raised concern earlier than it did. The school noticed he had not arrived for lessons and tried to contact his parents, but the call was made to the wrong number. A message was left for another family, not Andrew's. Because of that mistake, his parents did not know he was missing during the school day. At 11:20 in the morning, Andrew arrived at King's Cross Station in London. 5 minutes later, at 11:25, CCTV captured him leaving the main entrance of the station. That was the last confirmed sighting of Andrew Gosden. After that, there is no confirmed record of where he went. Andrew was not known as someone who often left home without saying where he was going. His family described him as quiet, intelligent, and independent, but not someone who usually disappeared for long periods. He was academically gifted, particularly in mathematics. He attended Macaulay Catholic High School and had an excellent attendance record. He also enjoyed rock and metal music, and his clothing and bag reflected that. London was not completely unfamiliar to him. Andrew had family connections there, and he had visited the city before. He liked museums, exhibitions, and music. But on that day, no one knew why he had gone. There were possible reasons people later considered. Some wondered if he had gone to London for a concert or an event. Others thought he may have planned to visit museums or simply spend the day in the city. There was also the question of whether he had arranged to meet someone, but investigators found no clear evidence of that. Andrew did not have a known online presence. His family said he did not use email and was not active on social media. Police examined computers connected to his school and local library, but no evidence was found showing that he had arranged a meeting online. His PSP was also checked,
Its serial number was sent to Sony to see whether it had ever connected online or been used to communicate with anyone. No evidence of online contact was found. By the evening of September 14th, Andrew's family realized something was wrong. He had not returned home. He had not contacted them. He had not been at school. Within hours, missing person leaflets were prepared, and family and friends searched the local area around Doncaster. At first, the search focused close to home because it was not yet clear where Andrew had gone. Only later did investigators confirm that he had traveled to London. The ticket seller at Doncaster station remembered him. The train journey was traced. CCTV from King's Cross was reviewed, but there was a delay in finding him on the London footage. By the time Andrew was identified leaving King's Cross, other potential CCTV from nearby areas may no longer have been available. This became one of the major frustrations in the case. The camera had captured Andrew leaving the station, but it did not show where he went next. His family later traveled to London and handed out flyers in places Andrew may have been interested in visiting. They focused on areas connected to museums, exhibitions, music venues, and places he might have known from previous visits. But no confirmed sighting came from those searches. Over the years, many possible sightings were reported. Some came from London. Others came from different parts of the country. None were confirmed as Andrew.
The case also produced unusual leads. In 2008, a man went to a police station in Leominster and said he had information about Andrew. Because the station was not fully staffed at that time, he spoke through an intercom. By the time an officer came to take the details, the man had left. Police later appealed for him to come forward again. A person later contacted the BBC anonymously, claiming to be the same man and giving details of a possible sighting in Shrewsbury. But it was never confirmed whether it was the same person or whether the information was accurate. There were other developments in later years. Police and Andrew's family released age-progressed images to show how he might look as an adult. They also highlighted several features that could still identify him. A distinctive double ridge on his right ear, poor eyesight, and deafness in his left ear. His bank account has not been used since the morning he withdrew the 200 pounds. In December 2021, 2 men were arrested in connection with the investigation on suspicion of kidnapping and human trafficking. One of them was also arrested on suspicion of possession of indecent images of children. The arrests brought renewed attention to the case, but in September 2023, South Yorkshire Police announced that both men had been released without charge. Police said they were confident the 2 men played no part in Andrew's disappearance. Investigators have considered several possibilities. Andrew may have gone to London for a private reason and later come to harm. He may have met someone unknown. He may have suffered an accident after leaving the station. He may have intended to return home, but never got the chance. But none of these possibilities has been proven. As of today, Andrew Gosden remains missing. His route to London was documented, and his final confirmed sighting was captured on CCTV. But after he left King's Cross Station on September 14, 2007, there has been no confirmed trace of him.